Hello, everyone. Well, it's been a really hectic weekend. I apologize that I'm showing up late, but and this might be an abbreviated broadcast depending on how I feel. So it will probably won't be an hour and a half like the last one was, but that may be a relief to you. My name is Gary Gomes. I'm a Vedic astrologer of some 35 years experience, and I was looking at the map for uh, the Iran bombing um, this past weekend. So I want to focus on that mainly because I think people are very afraid of war breaking out. I think legitimately so. I don't think it's something that we should take lightly. But I want to give an analysis of that just before I did anything else. By the way, for those of you who would like readings from me or would like to study with me, 508-525-0001 is the best number to contact me at. Um, that's you can text me at that number or you can call me. I'm not a tough person to talk with. And if you decide I'm not quite the right fit for you, I can refer you to other astrologers who might be a better fit for you. Um, yeah, obviously, I'm biased. I like my approach the best, but uh, it's your reading. You should decide who you go to, obviously. All right. So basically, we have. Oh, by the way, if you would be so kind as to subscribe, like, and discuss, I would appreciate it. It would be great. And we're getting close to the 1,000 subscriber mark, which is heartening to me because I know very, I do longish videos and I can ramble a bit. So I believe I'm not really heavy on preparation or on scripts, and that just is a basic part of my personality. So so I usually think the best insights come to me as I look at a chart for the first time. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this yet. No, you can't. Hold on a second. And we'll look at the U.S. and Iran charts. And keep in mind, I'm not in favor of the bombing of any uh, population, be it civilian, military. I view all life as precious. But one of the things that struck me about this particular um, chart, this is so reports are that it happened just after 2 o'clock in the morning. So I can maybe pinch this up just a little bit to 2:01 or 2:02 or 2:03, but I picked 2 a.m. as just being, you know, the approximate time that was listed in newspaper articles. And so what we have in this chart is a Moon-Venus combination in the first house. Venus is historically an indicator of victory in war. Okay, so it's the seventh house ruler in this chart is the house of open enemies, and Mercury, it occurred during a Venus Rahu subperiod according to this chart. Rahu is in the 11th house, so it will seem to have made or um, addressed its prescribed mission. So, so the Moon Venus conjunction is a really powerful conjunction. It can be, I would say, a loyalist to a fault, but basically this is so in terms of status and Venus ruling the second house of death and also the seventh house of death in this chart. Obviously, there were some deaths that occurred in this attack. Um, but Venus being in the first house is actually relatively good for the success of the attack. I'm not arguing over the morality of the attack. That's a different matter entirely. Okay. Venus is oftentimes, um, if for those who aren't aware of the mythology surrounding Venus, they don't know it's attached to one of the um, most aggressive avatars of Vishnu, Parashurama, that is Rama with a battle axe, and he essentially um, destroyed warriors three times over, at least three times over, uh, um, during during his lifetime. And there is rumor that Parashurama is one of the avatars of Vishnu that still walks the earth. So I'm not going to get into that. Um, but 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 basically, Venus is really connected with um, perpetuating life. It's connected with reincarnation. It's connected with how we come into the world. It was with the moon. It is especially potent. Now, the other planet, which is really significant, so this would have been actually um, a fairly triumphant time for this to have been done. Did it wipe out Iran's nuclear arsenal? It's doubtful. Will Iran fight back? Yeah, almost undoubtedly, because we have Saturn in the 12th house. There will be repercussions from this. Okay. The question is whether or not there'll be long-term repercussions or whether or not this will actually um, start to broker a peace. And with Rahu in the 11th house, it actually looks optimistic for at least some kind of stalemate or some kind of deflation of aggression occurring. Now that Rahu is aspected by Mars and Ketu. Mars and Ketu is what essentially um, gave the strike its quickness. So there wasn't a lot of discussion about it. And I think one of the things that, but Venus in the first house sort of gives it a kind of a legality. Jupiter in the third house gives it a kind of a legality. But Mars is a quick acting planet. So you're going to see a lot of these quick acting kind of activities over the next month or so, because um, as we go towards closer and closer to July 18th, Mars and Ketu are going to be closer and closer together. That will give more bomb attacks. So Israel is currently being bombarded. Um, Iran is attacking um, a U.S. military base, as far as I know. There may be some internal attacks in the United States because of the moon in the first house. And Saturn in the 12th house does indicate there will be retaliation. Um, is it going to last long? I don't think so. I don't think it'll last past August 19th. And here's why. I actually don't think it'll last much beyond July 1st. I'm sorry, August 1st. My apologies. Um, and one of the reasons I'm saying that is because Mars leaves this particular sign and goes into Virgo on August 1st. So that would tend to deflate or diminish um, the taste for revenge. Um, Jupiter and Mercury are in conjunction. Mercury's about to enter Cancer. Um, that should give a more meaningful. Within about 3 days, Mercury will enter Cancer. Within about 2 days, Mercury will enter Cancer. that should open up some lines of communication. And we'll have a new moon also in about 3 days as well, 3 to 4 days as well. And that should bring a new horizon to the conflict or a new emphasis to the conflict. Mars aspects Saturn in this chart, so there will still be some feeling of a need for retribution, though that'll last until August 1st. Um, so, so essentially, um, the chart wasn't a bad chart. The election for when they dropped the bomb on Iran wasn't a bad election. I can argue over the validity of doing that or taking that particular course of action, but it was overall, we have a benefic in the first house. That's generally good for an electional chart. Moon is waning. It can indicate a winding down of things, but again, keep something in mind. These things tend to take their own good time to wind down. Um, Given all the other conflicts in the world, that is, we have all these situations around the world in which violence is breaking out, and there are also all these political assassinations occurring, or these attempted political assassinations occurring. It's a dangerous time to be a leader. Okay, it's a dangerous time to be connected with any form of government. And let's just go to, so in terms of the attack, will it have long-term consequences? I don't think so. Personally, I don't think so. Um, Again, I could be wrong, but you know that. So let's look at the U.S. chart for just 1 second. The Mars K2 conjunction is in the United States, ninth house. So that actually is considered to be a Raj Yoga or a special union maker, because whenever the node aligns with um, one of the Yoga Karaka planets, and Mars is one of the Yoga Karaka planets for this particular sign, because it's the fifth house lord, and the fifth house lord is considered to be a better sign in this chart. Aries is a better sign than Scorpio. And but again, some of the sneakiness that Scorpio implies is very much at hand here. Um, in terms of the United States chart, let me just go over here. Right now, we're in, okay, so it's pretty obvious why we took the action we did, or why the administration took, I won't say we, uh, why the administration took the action that it did, because we were in this Rahu Mars subperiod after June 21st of this year. We enter June 30th, Rahu Mercury Jupiter subperiod. Jupiter is in our seventh house of allies, but also open enemies. So there'll be a lot of discussion around tariffs, but also, I would say, some attempts to bring peace over the next few months. Jupiter is in the United States. Uh, Birth chart is the United States is in what's called a Jupiter return. This happens once every 12 to 13 years. It isn't at all an unusual pattern. The last time it happened was in 12 to 13, so it was in 2012, I think, 2012 to 2013. And that actually, if I recall that particular period in time, um, it was the second presidential race between, or the second time Barack Obama stood for, or was up for re-election, excuse me, I'm making this longer than I have to, against Romney. And Obama actually, and I remember hearing this on the news and saying, my God, he's lost the election, because Obama actually said to Putin, he said, it's an election year. I can't look like I'm being too nice to you, but I'll help you out. or words to that effect. I'll have to look up the source, but I remember it as clearly as it was yesterday. And and I said, "Oh my God, he's screwed." And there was discussion about it for about, I want to say, about a week, and then the news story went away. Um, and before that was the 2001, September 11th, 2001. So Jupiter is in kind of a vulnerable place right now. Um, but I'm tending to think that Jupiter, being the Lord of this first house, will tend to bring out some of the United States warlike tendencies. The United States rising sign is in Mula Nakshatra, which is a very aggressive nakshatra. And the Jupiter transit is aspecting Mula or aspecting Sagittarius pretty fully. It's in the same sign with Mercury's Sun and Mercury and Sun right now. Pretty soon the Sun will move to the eighth house, so you'll see all kinds of what I would call underground or maybe even terrorist activities over the next month or so. And also people coming out of the woodwork to diminish the United States or its government. And again, I'm not, keep something in mind. I'm not saying the United States um, is right all the time. I'm an American. I'm happy to be an American, but I don't believe the United States is a perfect country by any stretch of the imagination. And as a matter of fact, over the past 60 years, um, I don't think I can point to a single instance in which the United States intervened in a situation in which it helped its allies out, unless the allies were already pretty well positioned and pretty well placed. Also, you'll notice closely Saturn's aspecting that Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Sun conjunction in the U.S. chart. So this does tend to bring out some of our more aggressive and, to be quite honest, stupid tendencies at this particular point in time. But I think, like I said, I think the attack it was risky, but I think the Jupiter subperiod will essentially calm things down. And by November 30th, a lot of this will be a memory. Um, let's look at Iran's chart, see how they're going to feel about it. I don't want to spend too much time on this. Iran, Iran, I got it. Wow, I'm astonished. All right, so we don't have an exact time on this birth chart, so that's a little bit disturbing. But all right, so the Mars K2 conjunction is, and I've said this before, the Mars K2 conjunction is going over um, Iran's 10th house of action. Now, again, this is not necessarily the birth time of Iran. As a matter of fact, if we take the sun as a rising sign, or we take the moon as the rising sign, Saturn and Rahu are in the sixth house of the chart, which can indicate enemies, and we have pretty potent transits to that house. If we go over here, um, let's see now. If we go over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it is hurting. Um, if I'm honest, it is hurting those in the seat of power because it's in the fourth sign from the moon, or it's in the fourth sign from the moon. So again, this happened in, we take the rising sign, this happened, or the sun sign or the moon sign. This happened in either The strike took place in the sixth house from the rising sign, this admittedly bogus rising sign I have here. It's in the second house, which is a house of death from the sun, and it's in the 12th house, which is a house of loss from the moon. This attack doesn't look very good for Iran. For Iran. Um, Now again, um, Iran's moon is extremely strong. It's an exalted moon, but again, like I said, 12th house, Venus and Moon in the 12th house don't bode well for success for Iran. It doesn't mean they won't try to attack or try to seek some kind of revenge. But I just um, if it's going to escalate, it'll escalate within just to put let's hop on it. It'll escalate within the next couple of weeks. It won't take long. Let's see now. So let's look at the chart for right now. Chart setup, excuse me. All right, so we have a Libra rising right now. Venus is in the seventh house. Moon is in the eighth, an exalted sign. Sun and Jupiter are in the ninth house. Mercury's in the 10th house. Mars and K2 are in the 11th house. So this indicates some gains, but also gains through balance, but also some expenses. Um, Mercury being in the 10th house, a lot of money which is being earned is spent this week. Sun and Jupiter, Mars and K2 do indicate an uptick in gasoline prices because K2 tends to take those things away. Mars is pretty much, Mars and Saturn are both pretty much intimately connected with what lies below the Earth. Uh, Saturn's aspect in the moon, so this will be a slight drag on the economy. But overall, this week doesn't look all that bad. I think the thing I would advise people is not to spend too much on creative things or not to spend too much on entertainments or luxury, because they'll only bring fleeting satisfaction, not permanent satisfaction, and they'll put you in a struggle mode for the rest of this transit if you overspend on those things. Venus is in the seventh house. Um, that's not a bad placement. Gives more people a chance to interact with each other. Some people will still be angry with each other, of course. Um, Moon is exalted in the chart, but it's in the eighth house. So again, this does indicate, I would say, a lot of underground or hidden activity taking place across the world. That's one thing you're going to see a lot of over the next couple of years. Attempts to take down governments, attempts to take out political leaders. We saw that just recently in Minnesota, and also a few months before that, we have political violence against people in the Israeli connected with the Israeli consulate, and also obvious, obviously there are a lot of wars going on all around the world, or conflicts. It isn't global war. There is war or conflicts in a variety of spots, and this Mars K2 doesn't give global war. Okay, it just doesn't. Um, the other thing is, uh, so conspiracies to take out political leaders. Um, I did hear that President Netanyahu, Prime Minister Netanyahu, uh, proposed to assassinate the Ayatollah in Iran, and that idea was rejected. Um, and that, excuse me. Hello? Sorry about that, folks. That was out and out rejected from what I understand. Again, it depends on where you get your news from. But that was my understanding. Um, the other thing is we are still having some conflict. Um, Iran and Israel are definitely still in conflict. Um, Israel essentially, um, I don't know how it started. Like, again, the October 7th date was the putative start, but this has been going on for years. And I can't remember who fired first, whether it was Iran or Israel. But the conflict between Iran and Israel has been going on for several months. This isn't new; it just escalated a bit. So I think that all these things. So if people are looking for like war breaking out like on a massive scale, it's all right. We're already in um, a kind of a precarious state, but we're not quite. At least in my humble opinion, we're not quite over the brink. Um, I like to remind people that Presidents Clinton and Obama both did very similar things to what President Trump did in the attack on the nuclear facilities. Um, so, and either one of them ended up in U.S. involvement in a full-out war. The war in Iraq was a different situation. The war in Afghanistan was a different situation um, because we were trying to get it's awful, isn't it? Get the mastermind. So his name may be prohibited. So let me just um, get the mastermind behind the 9/11 bombings, and actually they found him in Pakistan, not in Afghanistan. So, and the Iraq War was waged, and we found out that ultimately a lot of the information, a lot of the intelligence that led up to the Iraq War was essentially not true. So that's why I'm not insisting. I'm not drawing a line in the sand and saying that what happened was a good thing. Um, I'm most definitely not saying that. I'm saying it's a complicated thing. And whenever action is taken like that, um, there's a large element of risk involved. One thing I did notice about this chart is that Jupiter and Sun are both in Ardra Nakshatra, which is a nakshatra connected with tears. So this is something that is a bit concerning, but not, but it also does indicate um, at least some ability to change or change through pain. Let's see now. A lot of the nakshatras right now are one is Swati, that's a rising sign nakshatra. Ardra is considered to be a very difficult nakshatra. Uh, I'm looking for, it has three really important. Rahu dominated nakshatras. Uh, Bharani is a nakshatra connected with death. Rohini is connected with rebirth and recovery. Mars is in Maga, that's connected with our ancestors. And I've already spoken about Jupiter. Um, Purvabhadra Pada is connected with wealth, and Uttara Falguni is connected with cosmic wisdom. Okay, so, well, with knowing things are going to happen. So, at least from, I'm sorry, Uttara Purvabhadra Pada. Uttara Falguni is connected with wealth. My apologies. Purvabhadra Pada is connected with cosmic wisdom. My apologies. So take that or reverse it. Um, but basically, a lot of the more important nakshatras like Swati, which is to scatter, Ardra, which is to cry or have tears, Rohini, which is essentially rebirth and recovery. Maga is connected with our descendants, those who came before us. Punarvasu is connected with right behavior or correct behavior. It's again connected with tears. It's the nakshatra connected with tears, but also growth. Bharani is connected with death. And finally, but again, everything that lives must die. So that's why Bharani is connected with that. And Uttara Bhadrapada is connected with cosmic wisdom as well as Purva Bhadrapada. And Ketu is connected with wealth. So Ketu does indicate some wealth being threatened, but not a lot. So at least over the next week, we can start to see maybe some minimal economic distress. Mars is aspecting Saturn. Negotiations will essentially get stymied by that need for perfection with Mars aspecting Saturn. Um, so again, this isn't a bad chart. Does indicate some crying or remorse or even some trying to think of the right term, some dismay or worry or anxiety, okay, because of the Sun Jupiter being here. If we go, and by the way, Mercury's already changed signs, so I should have said that before. So let's look at your end. So again, a period of trial, but not utter destruction. Okay, so again, I encourage you to be calm. Look at this as a learning engagement. Um, Obviously, we pray that nobody else gets hurt or nobody else gets injured. Uh, we want to see as rapid a resolution to this as possible. I'd love to see peace break out in about half a dozen countries, like overnight. It doesn't happen that way. Okay, and but I do think after August, we'll probably see some movement towards peace in both Ukraine and the Middle East. And I sincerely hope I'm right about that. I'm not seeing, um, I don't use the outer planets, so I don't pay attention to the people who track those. And as I explained last week, I think um, I think other causes, especially other planets being involved with Mars and K2, cause major incidents or major problems. Yeah, it isn't caused by just that one conjunction, although it is a very powerful one. So let's get over to your charts for the week. Aries, good potential for a romantic relationship, although relationship partners may be harsh. Good opportunity for learning, and good for financial progress. But again, you'll have to watch the spending patterns for this particular sign. Taurus, this is May 15th through June 15th. Moon is in the first house. It's exalted, so this sign will feel relatively confident about itself. Sun and Jupiter in the second house gives financial growth, but with effort. And Mars and Ketu in the fourth can give some problems with property or needing repair, things needing repair. Venus is in the 12th house. So actually, this sign should be able to hold on to some money. Saturn's aspecting Moon. So again, don't expect things to really get much better over the next couple of days, just because of that Saturn Moon aspect. For Gemini, and a lot of fighting at home. For Gemini, Sun and Jupiter are in the first house. This is June 15th to July 15th. Sun and Jupiter in the first house, Mercury's in the second. Exalted moon is in the 12th, but aspected by Saturn, so it's kind of a malefic moon. So again, the caution is still raised about being careful with your money. But this sign will have a great deal of courage and a great deal of interest in taking chances and in making money this particular week and into the next month. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rahu is in the ninth house, relationship life. This chart will have a lot of emphasis on relationship life, but relationship partners, this is for Gemini, relationship partners will act a little bit difficult or even a little bit crazy at times. Saturn's aspect in the moon, so some of these people will experience a feeling of loss over the next week. For Cancer has, this is July 15th through August 15th. Cancer has Mercury in the first house, Sun and Jupiter are in the 12th, which gives a lot of emphasis on religion or religious activity. But this sign will be relatively angry or relatively upset with its life during this month. Rahu's in the eighth house. There is some danger of being exposed to uh, evil people or black magic for this particular sign. I'm not a big believer in black magic, but let's say conspiracies behind the scenes. And I'm using some of the Hindu terms because that's one of the things that Rahu in the eighth can mean. Saturn is in the ninth house, so slow but steady progress. Venus is in the 10th. That's good for alleviating problems with children. It's in the 11th house, so good for financial gains. But again, spending will be on religious or spiritual activities as opposed to fun activities. For Leo, Leo has Mars and Ketu in the first house. Again, this is what's called a Raj Yoga combination for this chart. It sits in Donald Trump's first house. So I think, interestingly enough, this is one of the few times you'll see a lot of people not questioning him because of basically because Mars and Ketu are relatively similar, and number two, it's a relatively lucky time for him. Let's see now. Rahu's in the seventh house, some difficulties with relationship partners. Saturn's in the eighth. Again, we do have some conspiracies against people with this particular rising sun or moon sign. Venus is in the ninth house, overall good luck for this sign, and Moon is in the 10th house, so good for career, but a lot of stress connected with career too. Sun and Jupiter are in the 11th house. That's good for financial gains, especially from religious institutions. And let's see now. For Virgo, we have Mercury's in the 11th house, so good for financial gains, but this chart will have to look out really carefully for getting involved in relationships. Not a good idea. Um, especially at this particular point in time. Maybe not for another couple of months. Um, Second house Lord is Venus. Lord of the second is in the eighth house. Not a bad placement. Will make the sign seem much more attractive, much more alluring. Um, and let's, Mars aspects. Rahu and Saturn in this chart. So Mars in the 12th house usually gives relationship problems. It will give fights or arguments with relationship partners, and also over um, not protectiveness isn't the right word. Over management of relationship partners from if you're in a relationship. So just if you don't want to get out of the relationship, this won't last long. This will only last until August 1st. Um, Moon is in the ninth house, generally good. Sun and Jupiter and Mercury being in the ninth, 10th, and 11th house are generally good, although there probably will be some problems with supervisors. All right, for Libra, Libra is October 15th through November 15th. Um, Mars and K2 in the 11th house. Unexpected financial gains for this sign. Mercury's in the 10th house, better for communication skills, especially on the job. Sun and Jupiter are in the ninth house, good for financial gains and also relationship gains. Moon is in the eighth house in this particular chart. Um, that's not necessarily bad. It makes the sign seem a little bit more sexual, more built up. And finally, the last bit of it will be um, Venus, Moon, Jupiter, and Mercury all lining up in the eighth, ninth, 10th, and 11th houses. So that should give some strong potential for financial gain for this particular sign. For Scorpio, Scorpio has Mars, its Lord, in the same sign with K2, its other Lord, in the 10th house. So there'll be a lot of focus on career activities. Rahu is in the fourth house, so there will be some dissatisfaction with home life. Saturn's in the fifth house, some problems with children. Venus is in the sixth house. This is a difficult position because this sign wants to have some fun or some activity out in the world. And Moon is in the seventh house. Will give good relationship partners, although they might be a little bit older or from a different social background. Sun and Jupiter are in the eighth house, can give some problems from the government if you're not careful. Mercury's in the ninth house, very good for financial growth. Mars and Ketu are in the 10th house, very good for career. For Sagittarius, Sagittarius Lord sits in the seventh house along with the sun. And so that creates a yoga between the first and the kind of lost my place. Oh, I should go. Okay, so I was on Sagittarius. So Sagittarius looks okay this month. It will have to watch out for fights with supervisors, people speaking behind his back, but it will have good allies and good potential for financial growth over the next few weeks. Saturn's in the fourth house, some difficulty with home life or obligations connected with home. Saturn, Capricorn's the Lord of Saturn's the Lord of Capricorn. Capricorn has Rahu in the second house. There'll be a big demand for money or a big demand for financial growth. Venus is in the fourth house and is Lord Mars is in the eighth house. So there can be some intrigue connected with property or inheritances. I've actually seen that already in a client of mine who has um, that who has similar planetary configurations. And overall, from the chart, uh, fifth house has moon in it, which is good for political life or for influencing people. Sun and Jupiter are in the sixth. Uh, kind of a difficult. So let's get back to Capricorn. I have to take a minute to reflect there for a second. Capricorn has Mars in the eighth house, can give some disruption to family land and family inheritances. But overall, this is not a bad week for Capricorn. Unexpected gains from fixed assets like housing or even fluid assets like gold or oil. Overall, this is not a bad chart for Capricorn. Sun and Jupiter in the sixth house can indicate some problems with ethics and also some problems with the government. Mercury in the seventh house, good for hanging out with younger people. Aquarius, it rules. Uh, Aquarius co-ruler is Rahu, and it sits in that particular sign. So this particular sign, or this particular sign will be somewhat blessed this week. Saturn's in the second house, a lot of pressure on to make money. Um, Venus is in the third. The sign will be overall polite. Moon is in the fourth. Um, Not a bad placement. Moon and Sun and Jupiter in the fourth and fifth. That's actually quite good for um, financial matters, although it's not explosive wealth. It's very good. And Mars and Ketu were in the seventh house. Watch out for relationship partners. They'll be ready to tangle very quickly. They'll be ready to fight very quickly. Um, other than that the negative attributes of the seventh house, um, the other sign we need to go to is Pisces. Pisces has Saturn in the first house, Venus in the second. So Pisces is still feeling a lot of stress and strain. Venus is in the second house. Finances are a little bit problematic because of either addictions or areas of life, paying in areas of life where you don't have the money. Um, Moon is in the fourth house. It's an exalted moon, as I said before. So this is overall good for stability in home life. Sun and Jupiter are in the fourth house, good for financial gain. Mars and Ketu are in the sixth house, so it makes this sign more, trying to think of a good way to put it, more competitive and more interested in competition. And finally, can't get this close. And finally, let me just, I don't know if I'm going to keep that up there. Finally, we have Rahu in the 12th house. So again, a time of heavy expenditures is expected. Let's go to the time and space chart. Let's make it a little bigger. Yeah, one of the reasons I'm not that upset about the Iran situation is because this has similar things have happened before. Okay. There hasn't been quite so much anti-war sentiment as has developed over the past. Um, so, and that's mainly because um, we got stuck into two really long cycles in Afghanistan, and also a lot of people resent, or a lot of people seem to resent, not everybody, uh, the enormous amount of aid that which was sent to Ukraine. So again, I'm not speaking out in favor of either position. I'm just saying that um, there is a large constituency. There's a large constituency that wants to see us involved in foreign conflicts. There's a large constituency that wants to see the United States break away from foreign engagements. And since the last Rahu subparade was in the 1900s, leading up to World War One, the United States was pretty much an isolationist country up until 1916. And it had its own wars, obviously, but it really wasn't interested in um, wars in other countries that couldn't possibly benefit it. Um, now, I'm not saying that this war won't benefit, a war with Iran won't benefit the United States. I'm just saying it looks to me like wishful thinking to think that we're doing a lot of these things for noble purposes. We're just not. So let's go over here. So that's without getting into a debate about that. So let's go over here. There's a moon line over Alaska, can indicate some disruption in political life in Alaska. Mars line passing close to Hawaii, so they should watch out for storms. Rahu line down the west coast of Canada. And we have the Sun, Jupiter, Saturn line all kind of clustered together in California and in Nevada and up through um, Oregon, Washington, and I believe it's Vancouver in British Columbia, or British Columbia in Canada. Um, is sort of slipping close to um, Saskatchewan uh, in Canada, and I know there have been ongoing talks in that part of the world about secession. So we'll see whether or not that happens. But I expect a lot of activity in this film cluster over here. This is close to Los Angeles. It goes up very close to the state capital of California. So California and Oregon and Washington should be really interesting to watch this coming week. Mercury line is going through Mexico and also through Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, down into Louisiana, and down into Mexico, close to Mexico City. So there will be increased communications in those parts of the world. Let's see now. There's not really a close line to um, the east coast of the United States, except for a Venus line. That usually indicates heavy downfalls, and uh, that's crossing right over the Dominican Republic, but especially it's hitting uh, Guyana and down into Peru and Ecuador. But it will probably affect the east coast of the United States because I have heard there's been tremendous flooding, especially in West Virginia. There's a moon line running across. Oh, let's look at these lines right here. Hold on a second. There's a Rahu line going over Brazil. This indicates some part of government scandal and also connected with Uruguay. So this should be an interesting week for that part of the world. There's a Saturn line going through close to Rio de Janeiro, Sao Paulo, and I think at least from this there'll be some changes in the Amazon and changes in the government over the next year or so. We have a moon line running through the Azores, so again, bad weather, floods, and this is, oh, I'm sorry, that's a Saturn line. My apologies. There's a moon line running up through close to England, but really focused around Norway and a little bit towards Sweden. And so that indicates some heavy rains, maybe some changes in administration. Sun line is going up through Paris, close to London, and through Portugal and Spain. And I think that does indicate some kind of increased governmental control. And it's also hitting up in those countries. And it's also hitting up into Sweden and Finland and let's see now, Belgium. So Belgium is the seat of the Congress, the European Union Congress. And there should be some controversies or some attempts to take over leadership from the people in charge right now. Let's see now. There's a Venus line going over Eastern Europe, down into Libya, down into the west coast of Africa, especially around Angola, and down into South Africa. So that should be somewhat good for rain. Um, but that's over the coming week, and we probably won't see that until later on in the week. There's a Mercury line running right over Italy and into Eastern Europe, excuse me. So we should see a lot of activity in that part of the world, a lot of communication about that part of the world. There's a moon line running through Ukraine and Turkey and down into um, South America. And I think this entire line indicates changes in governments. There is a Mars line, so we should expect some violent changes in this part of the world. There is a Mars line running close to Saudi Arabia, Russia, Ukraine. So that Mars line is connected with K2. And look at this. Iran is segued between Mars and Rahu K2. It's or it's stuck. It's trapped on either side by that. There's also a Saturn line which abuts it. So this doesn't look like a good week for Iran. Um, yeah, not a particularly good week. So we'll see what they decide to do. But if they go to escalate, I think things will get much worse for them. The other things I noticed on the map is that Sun and Jupiter and Mercury surround India, which should be a relatively good good experience for India. Um, so some good financial growth for India over the next week. China has a Venus line running through it. Actually, this is what used to be called Indochina, but Burma or Myanmar and Cambodia and Vietnam, and they have that Venus line going through them. So that should be relatively good for trade and relatively good for domestic tranquility. Side that comes out ahead. Um, the Philippines has The Venus line usually brings tremendous. Now, linking your computer to your phone isn't such a good idea. Let's see now. All right, so let's go on to this analysis and we'll wrap it up. So the Mercury line for India looks good. A lot of rain. Venus, a main attribute, uh, apart from love and the arts and victory in war and a bunch of other attributes it has, is also strongly connected with rain. Um, and this moon line over here kind of indicates this is, I don't know if this is rainy season in that part of the world or not, but Philippines will be hit with some changes in government, and Borneo will, but this part of the world looks like it's going to be hit with pretty heavy rains, even in Western Australia. Um, there's a Rahu line going over Australia. I'm tending to think that's not good for government. I'm tending to think that will give a little bit of an economic downturn to Australia, this Rahu Saturn, and there'll be some anxiety about markets. And finally, Jupiter's going over New Zealand, so New Zealand should get some good news in terms of either a new government or governmental reform. Okay, so that's it from me for this week. My apologies, I didn't go longer. Um, I want to talk a lot about uh, Iran uh, because, as I said, this is one of those events that, um, in the larger scheme of things, is it's a big event. I could have spoken about the protests, uh, the No King's Day protests, but all these things are symptomatic of the Mars K2 conjunction. They're all what I would call low pressure valves, which are essentially um, forcing changes in societies, whether we want them or not. So it'll be fascinating to see how this all works out. I'm tending to think that, or I'm guardedly optimistic that the Iran situation is not going to escalate. Can I guarantee that? No, not really, but just based upon previous events like that and previous configurations, I'm tending to think um, I'm tending to think that this is um, not going to manifest extraordinarily negatively. There'll be negative manifestations of it, of course, but nothing which will cause a worldwide conflagration. Okay? So just look out for yourselves. Be careful traveling. Be careful. We've had quite a few with the Mars K2 just based upon, in my life. We've had quite a few breakdowns and quite a few equipment failures. So that was one of the things I was wrapped up in yesterday and also today. So that's one of the things that occupied my time. Also kind of sore. I'm also kind of sore because I was doing a lot more work yesterday than this old body normally does, but that's okay. It was good for me. So, in case you were wondering where I was without going into gory details, I was doing physical labor. Okay? Even I am not above doing physical labor. All right. All right. It's good, it's very Saturnian, it keeps you honest. Okay? So have a great week, folks. I love you all. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, it's a great pleasure on my behalf. And I'm sorry if I got a little groggy in the middle there. It's just one of those things. I had a very busy weekend. Okay. And also a very busy day today. All right. Take care. God bless you all. Thank you so much for watching. And of course, namaste.